On the edge of real and cyberspace, there's one place you can go, and you found it. Welcome to the Nightwise.com podcast, the one and only podcast with hacks, tips, and tweaks for cross-platform geeks. My name is Nightwise, and we're coming to you live from our studios in the far east of Belgium on the edge of real and cyberspace, recording the first show of the new year today live, and it will be aired after January 1st. Season 15, episode 1. That means that this is the 15th year we'll be doing the Nightwise.com podcast, a podcast with hacks, tips, and tweaks for cross-platform geeks, which means that it's full of interesting tidbits of information. If you are a cross-platform slider, that means if you're somebody who uses multiple operating systems like Mac, Linux, Windows, Android, iOS, Sun Solaris, what have you, and want to slide between them, want to jump from OS to OS and let technology work for you. That's our philosophy here over at Nightwise.com. So if you're totally new to this, we are recording the show here on YouTube, and it will be cut down into a podcast and aired later in the beginning of the new year as the first episode of season 15. You can download that episode to your favorite podcatcher and get it, in between your earbuds, and so you can listen to it whenever you want to. And if you don't, well, you can just watch the live stream or even the video recording of this stream. Now, this is how it works. If you're totally new to this, I am in the studio by myself. Have to kind of do the presentations and all the buttons and make sure that everything looks like a real TV station. And the way I do that is by using a piece of software called OBS, which is Open Broadcast System, which allows you to do cute camera cuts like this, where I can actually cut to the second screen of my machine and show you the actual recording software that we're using to record the parts of the Nightwise.com podcast that actually go into the audio podcast. There's the chat room here on the right. If you're not interacting with us on the YouTube channels, you can find out via the chat room here at t.me/nightwise.com, all one word. And you can hang out with other cross-platform geeks that love to let technology work for them. So we got quite a bit to cover. So let's just get started with recording everything. And by that, I will be pressing record, doing the recording, and then chatting to you guys along the way. So if you're not in the chat rooms as yet, please join. It's an interesting event to hear me mess up and make mistakes, but that's okay. So got my cup of tea here. Houston, we have a problem. I love it that the webcam doesn't mirror the image, which is good. And I am actually wearing a matching sweater, and I've got the Saturn V rocket behind me, which is kind of a creepy theme. I'm not a NASA nerd per se, but there are a lot of NASA-themed things here today. So let's not hope we have a problem. We had a problem when we started the first recording where it actually froze, and we had a problem yesterday where Facebook and me had a disagreement on the copyright infringement of a very nice song that I would like to play to you. So let's just see where that goes. All right, I've got my show notes right here. Jesus, that thing's bright. That's better. Got my show notes here. I have my recording software ready. Okay, let's go. First time if you ever done this, well, let's show you how the magic's made. Okay. Deep breath, cup of tea. 3, 2, 1. On the edge of real and cyberspace, there's one place you can go, and you found it. Welcome to the Nightwise.com podcast, the one and only podcast with hacks, tips, and tweaks for cross-platform geeks. My name is Nightwise, and I'll be your host on this episode of the Nightwise.com podcast, Season 15, Episode 1, 10 geeky things to do in 2020. If you want to know more about everything we talk about, you can check out our website, www.nightwise.com. That's KNIGHTWISE.com, where you'll find the links to everything I talk about, the apps, the websites, and other information, and the Nightwise.com media feed. Subscribe to that feed and get all of the Nightwise.com content delivered to your podcatcher automatically. You can also check out our YouTube channel where you can actually find the live recording of this episode with all the flububs included, and you can join our super secret Telegram channel to chat, and you can do that over at t.me/nightwise.com, all one word. Hey guys and girls and geeks, let's just start by wishing you a very, very happy new year. It's 2020, the magical year that, it's kind of like magical like 2000. That's 20 years ago, 2000. It still sounds a little futuristic, 2020, but maybe that's what it is. Technology is having a ever bigger impact on our lives. It's becoming ever more important in our lives. So why not focus on that technology and focus on the way you can have it work for you? I've got an interesting show for you lined up today. Everybody probably has New Year's resolutions. I know I do. And I was sitting around in the days over Christmas and New Year thinking, what would I really like to do in the next year? And what would I really like to work on when it comes down to my geek credibility? And I started listing up some things, and I decided, let's just make a show out of it. So we have a list show. We actually have 10 things, 10 topics to go through. We'll spice it up with a little cool music, and we will end up with an interesting show, I hope. So without further ado, because we got a lot to cover, let's get into the meat of the matter. There you go. And that is part 1. So we always record the show in multiple parts, so they're easier to edit together, and we just drop in jingles and everything. So here I have the recording that I made. Export that as a WAV file. Let's just drop it on my desktop for a minute. Call that part 1. And there you go. Zip. That's done. All right, ready for part 2. Little sip of tea. There's not much activity in the chat room at the moment, but that's because I'm recording in the middle of the night for most of the wise guys. I'm located in the east of Belgium, which puts us in the Central European time zone, and it's 9:45 in the morning, which means it's like really early in the United States, and where most of the wise guys are, or in Australia. That kind of depends. But we have listeners all over the world, but most of them are asleep right now. So let's get cracking into part 2, the main part where we're going to give you the first 5 things to list. All right, back to the recording software in 3, in 2, in 1. 10 geeky things to do in 2020. That is something that's a little bit of a challenge, but you got 365 days to do so. And it's always nice to have lists like this because, quite frankly, they inspire you for a moment where you're bored or stressed or really want to change things in your life or in the way you do things. So in tip number 1 is, of course, we are the Nightwise.com podcast, a podcast with hacks, tips, and tweaks for cross-platform geeks. So at absolute tip number 1, something you should probably do in 2020 is try a new OS. Yeah, I know. Most of you are probably sliders going like, Nightwise, come on. I'm working on different systems already. I'm jumping from Windows to the Mac or from the Mac to Linux or stuff like that. But, there's probably that one platform that you haven't tried yet that you're a little biased about, like, I don't know, Android or iOS. I don't know, give it a try. Give it a try to try something new. For me personally, I am going to try a different flavor of Linux. I'm a Debian guy. Sorry. I've been using Ubuntu and Debian flavors for the longest time, and actually I kind of don't know my way about like other distributions, like for example Arch or Red Hat based distros or something like SUSE. And I know Linux is Linux, but the installation of applications is different, and I haven't really paid enough attention to do that. So this year I'm going to step across the package gulf and go towards a non-Debian or non-Deb architecture and try it. And the second thing, if you want to try something new, it's cool to just, try it and fondle with it and go like, yeah, right, that was it. That was fine. No, 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 no. This time I'm talking about stick to it. Just put a list of things that you want to do on that new OS. Like, for example, I don't know, doing your GTD on a different mobile platform, or I don't know, recording a podcast on a different version of Linux. I don't really know what you do behind those computers, you strange people, but try to stick to it. It's not like distro hopping where you jump over and you go like, yeah, there's a different desktop here, meh, and you go back when you're frustrated. No, really try to stick to it, because it will give you a very, very interesting experience and an opportunity to learn. And that learning brings us to number 2 on the list. Learn. Take the time to learn a new piece of information. We are in a time, and 2020 is this futuristic number, where learning will become something that is ubiquitous and that will be constant. It's no longer enough that, kids will learn stuff at school, get a degree, and then, go into the workforce. This is the time of eternal and lifelong learning. And you should give that a try, and you should give yourself an opportunity to continue to learn. Now, for geeks like us, learning is like oxygen. New information is something that we need to consume. And I've been, challenging myself to learn new things. And one of the things that you might want to do is listen to one TED Talk a day. Now, TED Talks, if it's new to you, these are mini keynotes given all over the world by the smartest people, and you can download TED Talks on all kinds of topics. They're about 20 minutes long, and there are awesome things in there that you can learn, and they really give you a new look on things and broaden your horizons and broaden your perspective, because they're given by really smart people who are really, really good at public speaking. Now, the TED app is great for this. You can basically, I don't know, when you're working out or in the morning when you're having coffee, just, I don't know, you can tell it to wanting to learn, that you want to learn something about a certain topic. And I would, challenge you to take a topic that you don't know anything about, or that might not interest you, like, I don't know, science or health, or history, or whatever you don't know anything about. How about, the missing children in Nicaragua? I don't know anything about that. There's a TED Talk about that. What happens if you have a stroke and you're actually still conscious? Well, there's a TED Talk about that, and how to be more confident when you're speaking in front of people, and how can help at playing with your body posture help you to do that. How does your body posture influence your state of mind? Well, believe it or not, there's a TED Talk about that, and about a lot of other topics. In the TED Talk app, you can actually say that you have X amount of minutes, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and you want to learn something about a certain topic, and it selects the right TED Talks for you, and you can listen to them or watch them. One TED Talk a day, when you're when you're commuting, or when you're out in the gym or something, it's like, it's the Snickers bar of knowledge, really fulfilling, not too sweet. And no, it's not a Snickers bar. It's actually one of these power bars of knowledge that help you to, learn something new every day. Just one half an hour every day. Expand your views. The other thing, of course, that you can do to learn something new is, read an article online. There are plenty of articles online. I mean, the internet consists of it. And sometimes you come across these things where you go like, yeah, this is really cool. This is really cool. I should read this. I don't have the time to read this. I'll read this later. And then you forget about it and you go read crap like, I don't know, Reddit or 9gag or Facebook or whatever. Because there's a lot of low-calorie infotainment out there that doesn't really help you to enhance your skill. Here we are connected to the most powerful network on the planet that gives us all the information that we want to consume, yet we insist at looking at cats. Cats are funny, but you don't really, learn anything from watching cats aside on how to be annoying. I know, so I have one. So if you don't have the time to read that article, maybe you want to listen to that article. If you use a service called Pocket, which is a web browser extension, you can actually take that article and save it for later. So it will be stripped of all the ads and turned into a nice, good, simple article that you can read on the mobile Pocket app later on, even when you're offline. And if you don't have time to read, how about you listen? There's a text-to-speech version in Pocket that you can use. You just tap on text-to-speech and it will read it to you, a kind of like Stephen Hawking. It's nerdy and it takes some getting used to, but I found that when I'm, have these small moments in my day when I'm waiting around for something, or I'm going on foot from the train station to work and have a couple of minutes, I try to, snap one of these in between and have Pocket read it out to me. And just one article a day here, again, is a great way to learn something new about something you didn't know a lot about. And of course, at number 3, there is subscribing. Number 3, the third part of number 2. Here I am, throwing my list out of whack. And one of the other things that you can do, of course, by way of learning new things, is of course subscribing to a new podcast. There are a lot of podcasts about a lot of topics, and mostly we kind of subscribe to the ones we're really interested in. How about you do one that you're not interested in? I mean, not maybe that you're not interested in it, but where you don't know anything about, because otherwise you just, listen to the same content around the same topics and it's great. But how about choosing a very, very different topic? How something that's totally alien to you and that is totally different from what you know. So you can do that by subscribing to a podcast of a topic that is, really strange to you. And you can even try something different. You can also use a topic or choose a topic that really interests you, but choose the podcast in a different language. I've done this. I'm subscribed to a German tech podcast. No, my German isn't bad, but it isn't fantastic either. But it's a great way to learn new languages. I know for one that there are apps like Duolingo and like ¿Cómo estás? Mis nombre es Miguel Pizza. It's a great way to learn Italian. Sorry, all the Italian people. I just, borked that up completely. But it's not really something that interests me. I tried Duolingo. It's nice. It's interactive. That's true. But I went like, yeah, right. I don't know when I'm going to use the sentence when to order pizza in Rome. I'm not going to Rome anytime soon. But listening to a podcast in a different language does introduce you and immerse you in that language, and it helps you, to stay focused on the language and wanting to understand the words because you're basically interested in the topic. At number 4, there is the upgrade your security. Seriously, people, it's 2020. It's time. It's time to upgrade that online security. And I know that many of you might have been putting it off for a while now, but how about you finally do that thing where you get a password manager? Stop having to remember your own passwords. Stop trying to memorize them as a human. Stop trying using bad passwords or the same passwords everywhere. How about just getting a password manager and having that thing manage the passwords for you and even generate them for you if you want to? There are plenty of cross-platform password managers out there. Like, for example, KeePassX is a cross-platform database, actually, that stores all of your logins and your passwords to the different sites in a encrypted database. But you also have online password generators, like, for example, LastPass. LastPass is pretty cool. When you go online and you enter a password, LastPass either generates it for you or remembers the one that you made. And the next time you come to the website, LastPass will automatically fill it in. That's really nice, but you can also store other information in LastPass, like passwords that you would normally write down or that you don't use for online things, or I don't know, network keys or license keys. You can all put it in there. It's encrypted, it's stored on their servers, and it's relatively safe. It's never perfectly safe. You're still putting your passwords on somebody else's computer, Ta-da. But of course, your security, just as with KeePassX, is of course just as strong as your master password to unlock your entire password vault. But it's better than writing them on Post-its or even trying to remember that, because basically we're human, we're fallible. Bots and hackers are better at cracking passwords than we are at remembering them. So it's time to fight machines with machines. Then I come to the next part here, and that is, well, upgrading your security and just not relying on a login and a password anymore. Any site that supports two-factor authentication or any server that supports two-factor authentication, use it. You know, it's time to take security one level up. It's not only your login and your password. Your login is mostly an email address that everybody knows. So your password is the thing that you know. And if somebody else knows it, well, they have the two things to unlock whatever information that you've stored behind a login and a password. So it's time to add a third layer of security to that and go with two-factor authentication, where you either have an app on your phone that receives a code, and that code is something that you need to enter in order to complete the authentication. So you have both your login, your password, and the key from your phone that's uniquely generated every time you log in from a new destination or from a new device. This prevents a hacker in Malaysia from logging in behind his computer using just your login and your password. He still needs the code that's been sent to your phone. And this is the beauty of two-factor authentication. It's not only something you know, it's also something you have. So especially with services like ring.com or with your email, anything that has to do with banking, of course, your master password of your password vault, try to use two-factor authentication. You know, logins and passwords are a thing of the past. You need that three-part or that two-part authentication to really up the ante on that access protocol to your very, very sensitive information. And speaking of security anyway, how about it's time to get a VPN? You use the Starbucks when you're out, or you use your work Wi-Fi when you're at work, or maybe you're at the airport. You really use a lot of shared connections, and shared connections are not always safe. I mean, it's pretty easy to set up a bogus Wi-Fi spot or to intercept the traffic on a public Wi-Fi spot and sniff your way through, see what people are doing. If you're on a wired network, for example, at work, you still pass through the router and the DNS servers of that place, and they can basically look at what you're surfing at. Maybe not the content, but the websites. And, maybe you don't want that. Maybe you don't want to do that. Your ISP knows every URL you enter, because they take a look at your traffic if they want to, and maybe they want to sell you ads. And maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want that connection from wherever you are to the internet to be secure and to obscure actually where you're coming from. And you can do that with VPN. You can buy a commercial VPN service online, which is pretty cheap, and have a very easy way to tunnel out to a certain point in the internet, like for example, NordVPN has them in Scandinavia or all over the world, and leave the internet at that point, leave towards the internet at that point. So all the traffic between your computer and the VPN endpoint, no matter which networks it's traversing, is secure, is unreadable by third parties. And that's something that I've always found very interesting, because I don't know, those wired hotspots, those wireless hotspots filled with students doing their thing, I go like, yeah, I don't really trust this. I would like to have my connection secure. So you can take a commercial service, or you can set up your own, at home. If your ISP allows it, why not set up an OpenVPN endpoint? Use a Raspberry Pi, install OpenVPN on all of your machines. This is cross-platform, people, works on everything. And just tunnel from wherever you are to your home network and leave towards the internet there. It gives you an added step of security. That traffic is obscured all the way to your home network, and then it leaves via your home network connection. So if you're out and about You can actually, obscure your traffic, but you can also tunnel into your home network, which is really fun if you quickly want to, access the web interface of your IP cameras or print a quick document. It's like pulling a Ethernet cable from wherever you are to your home router, plugging into your own network, and then interfacing with everything that's there and leaving for the internet, starting from your own home connection. So that's a project that you might want to work on. Listen to the episode that we did on DietPi, where we talk about setting up a VPN server that way. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, we are at number 4. Are we? We are at number 4. Okay. Number 4 is take privacy personal. Really? Really. This is the year where we start taking our privacy back. We have been inundated with services that give us free access to data and storage and God knows what in order for them to use our data. I mean, YouTube, Google, Facebook, they are all after our data and they are making money off our data. And our data is the way we behave online, our interests, our personal information. And even if it's anonymized, God knows, it allows them to analyze, predict, and even influence your shopping behavior. Now, this is great when it's about shopping, or is it? Have you noticed that you might shop more when you spend more time online because your urges get triggered all the time to buy new stuff? Is that a good thing? And on the other hand, who owns all of that data? Basically, my preferences and the way that I behave online, I think that my personal data is my own. And I don't have a problem if a service uses it to give me a better service, fine with that. But I do have a problem when they sell it to other people. And this is what they make money on, people. Companies like Facebook, Google, they're ad agencies and they make a lot of money with your data. So at the end of the road, there is the question, whose data is it? If it's my data and you're selling it, yeah, good. Then I would like something in return. Maybe it's your service, but if you're selling it to a third party, maybe I want something from them in return. And if not, well, you don't get it. I am starting to pose the question, do you really need to know? I was in the shop a short while ago. I bought something and they said, yes, can we just have your postcode and your date of birth? And I went like, why? Well, we're doing an analysis on, I said like, no, I have purchased a product here. I have given you money. I don't want to give you any more information. If you want my information, you buy it from me. The little shop clerk, poor thing, was completely, baffled, going like, but it's like, no, you don't have a right. You don't need this information in order to complete the transaction that I've just done. I went to the museum. So, I paid and I went to the museum. And I went like, you don't need my information in order to complete this service. So if there's no extra added value for me when I give you my information, you're not getting it. She was a little baffled about that. But hey, your data is valuable and start thinking about your privacy. It's not about having anything to hide. It's about who owns your data and who owns the information about you and what do they do with it and do they really need to have it? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. So I'm starting to think on a real need to know basis. When you go to a website, this website would like access to your location. Does it really need to? No? Okay, boom, you're not getting it. This app would like access to your contacts. Does it really need to? No. Okay, boom, you're not getting it. I'm done with giving data away like it's for free. If they really want it and they make money off it and it can positively, negatively impact me later down the road or right now, you're not getting it. If you don't really need it, you don't get it because, all that information that is stored by third parties can also be leaked by third parties. And that is something that you might not want. So take your privacy personal this year and, take back what's yours. When we're talking about privacy anyway, how about talking about tuning out? We are over-connected. We are always connected to the internet. There are bings and dings and doodahs all out there. And maybe 2020 is the year where you occasionally step back from the maelstrom and go like, maybe it's time to tune out a little bit. And well, there are a lot of things that you can tune out of. Your hardware. If you still have unsupported hardware lying around at home, maybe old IP cameras that aren't supported anymore, or that old wireless router that isn't getting any updates anymore, in case of security, just, tune out, just get rid of that. Or if there's hardware that you don't use anymore, declutter your life. Just, dump it. I've gone down from 5 to 3 computers. I'm fine with that. I have 1 phone, 1 tablet, and 3 computers because I'm a cross-platform geek. But, I had this clutter of machines, this one, and I wasn't using it. So I went like, you know what? Tune out. I'm getting rid of it, and I'm simplifying my hardware. You can also, close down on those services that you no longer use. You might have signed up to a bunch of online services a while ago that you don't really use anymore. How about quitting your accounts? Just close out, put them away. If it's not giving you any value in your life and you really don't get anything out of it, tune out, unsubscribe, close your account, and be done with it. You can also start throwing out podcasts that you don't really listen to, that you want to listen to, but you don't really get down to listening to them. So you're just aimlessly collecting data that you don't really use. Of course, not the Nightwise.com podcast. You're listening to that one. That's very important that you keep doing that. But how about the rest? Those things that you want to listen to. I've been subscribed to Security Now for ages. And because the episodes are 4 hours long, I don't listen to them. So I've been stacking them up, and I've been looking at my play rates over the last couple of weeks, and I went like, all right, the last time I listened to an episode of this podcast was 6 months ago. I'm just maybe, still subscribed because I don't want to miss out, but I'm not using it. So tune out of podcasts you're not listening to. Tune out of people you're not listening to. I use Facebook. It's there. And there are a lot of negative people on Facebook with negative content, always bitching and moaning about God knows what and sharing sensational or even fake news and having this really negative vibe around them. I kick them off. I go like, I love you to bits, everybody, but no, I don't want your negativity in my life. I don't want your content and your messages and whatever you have to say rile my emotions up, and I'm not getting anything out of it except for fear and uncertainty and doubt or frustration. So how about I just tune you out? And I've unsubscribed from a lot of people, and when you're on Facebook you can just unfollow them. You're still their friend, because maybe the social standards require you to, but you don't have to see what they post anymore. And I have a lot of people that I actually unfollow. Not the ones I really care about, but yeah, I really, really keep clean house in my social media feeds. And if it's a website or a service or a person that gives me that negative information, that negative vibe, that acidic online content, I read a couple of weeks ago, which is a very nice word, I just tune them out. And of course, there is the tuning out of notifications. My phone does not direct me. I have hardly any notifications on my phone. If I want to check my email, I'll check my email, and I'll check it when I want to. And there are only 1 or 2 apps that really give a ding on my phone, and the rest I check when I want to. We did an episode about this on your notifications. I'll put the link in the show notes on how really zenning out your smartphone can help you to lead a more, not a more connected life, but you're connected with reality more because you're paying attention, a more attentive lifestyle. And if you really want to go extreme, how about leaving your phone at home for 1 day a week? I've been doing this on Sundays, and I absolutely love it. I really enjoyed the fact that I don't have my phone with me. I am not reachable. I can't connect. So the only thing I can do is experience the world around me and interact with the people around me. And it's in these hyper-connected times something you really, really want to try. We have 5 more things that we want to go to, but first let's have a snippet of music. All right, that is the recording of part 2, and you guys are going to get some music too. I've got a nice clip lined up for you from The Midnight, and the track is called Los Angeles.
Faked our deaths, lit a match, closed the door, waited for the flash. Greyhound station, paid in cash. It's Lazarus, we're coming back. They say it's darkest before the dawn. We've been in this town for far too long. They say it's darkest before the dawn. We're moving on, we're moving on, we're moving on. Sunset, no regrets. First chance, last dance, stuck in the middle. Even that girl's no good love. You taste so sweet, it hurts a little. Make our home where we stand. One suitcase and half a plan. Follow the wolves and sing along. Past the voices to the song. They say it's darkest before the dawn. We've been in this town for far too long. They say it's darkest before the dawn. We're moving on, we're moving on, we're moving on. Sunset, no regrets. First chance, last dance, stuck in the middle. Even that girl's no good love. You taste so sweet, it hurts a little.
Okay, so for the rest of the track, you might want to tune into the nightwise.com podcast, because when we play this kind of content in our stream, it's kind of blocking it's kind of blocking the stream, so we shouldn't do that. But you can listen to this track in the podcast. All right, we're at parts. Let's see. We are ready to export part 2 here, and we're going to go on with the third part of the show, where we give you the last 5 tips before we close off. So let's see, to get this started. Meanwhile, Audacity is exporting track number, or part number 2 of the show, and we can start recording part number 3. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1. Great music there by The Midnight, and the track is called Los Angeles. I really like the retro wave music, and I've got some great feedback from the people in in the podcast community that they also like this music. So great artist. So time to record number 3. Okay, let's do that again. All right, here we go. That's live for you. There we go. And that was a great track by The Midnight called Los Angeles. We're down to our 5 latest tips to do in 2020, and one of them is going rechargeable. I, for one, still have a mouse here which has a battery, and I decided to ditch everything that comes with an AA or a AAA battery inside. You know, the batteries that you have to, when they're empty, throw away, go to the shop, buy new ones. So I'm going for rechargeable gear, a rechargeable wireless headset, rechargeable mouse, rechargeable keyboard. If it doesn't come with a rechargeable port, I'm not buying it anymore. I'm getting rid of all my battery powered stuff. It's better for the environment. I'm also getting a power bank. So if you don't have a power bank, do that. You know, our life depends on the fact that our batteries are charged. So having a decent 4,000 milliamp power bank, or bigger if you want to, with you to charge your devices whenever you need that connectivity, is a very nice tip to do. Aside from going rechargeable, you can also contribute to the environment, or maybe your digital environment, in another way by, contributing something to the open source community. How about 2020 being the year where you write your first script? Maybe you want to try a little Python application, or a little Bash script, or a little something that fixes a problem for you by learning how to code in a very basic way. I'm a coding noob. I've even written a couple of scripts, and sharing out those scripts to the community. You can set up your own GitHub page and actually share the script that you made. Now, it might be very basic, but it will be useful. If it's not useful to you because it solves a problem, it might be useful to you because you learned to basically script and program by doing that. But it might also be useful to somebody who has the same problem that you do, and they can really, use your script maybe to fix their problem, or to be inspired by building their own. If we're doing the whole open source thing anyway, how about you file a bug? If you're using Linux or an open source software and you're annoyed that something doesn't work, file a bug. File one bug. If we all did that in 2020, there would be a lot of bugs filed and fixed, and that would contribute to the greater good of the open source community. There's this bug in all versions of Debian Linux. When you install them on the Mac, and it has a French keyboard, that you don't get the right keys on an external keyboard. So the keyboard mapping when you're using an external keyboard is off versus when you're using the internal keyboard. Now, it's a mistake. It's an error it's a bug that's been there for about, 5-6 years, and I am going to file it. If it hasn't been filed yet, I'll probably file it myself, or go after it, that it's going to be fixed. And it might fix my little problem, but it also might fix a lot of problems for other people. And how about when you're, into your whole open source thing anyway, go to a forum and help a noob. There's probably a lot of people out there that are running into issues and problems that you've been running into. How about you just, answer them. Give them your knowledge, answer their question. It might be a very simple question, but you're not only answering their question, you're also answering the questions of all the other people who are searching on that topic, and contributing your knowledge, even if it's just answering one forum post, might be helpful to many, many people. Then there's the fact that this is item number 7. Yeah. Oh, really? I totally have my numbers straight or wrong. That's okay. It's a podcast, whatever. The next item that I want to talk about is that you want to contribute to the community by archiving some data. Now, the archive.org is this great place that will basically archive anything. How about you start to archive some data? Perhaps for yourself, you might want to start with digitizing a lot of those cassette and videotapes that are still out there. You might have them lying around in your house, or you might have them lying around in your family's house, in your grandmother's house, in your aunt's house, your parents' house. They, have gathered this information over the years, and there might be very, very cool images on there or audio on there that is very precious to the history of your family, your personal history, and you might want to really save that, because the one thing that you have is that VHS, cassette tapes, all of these media are disintegrating. They are really falling apart, and it's time to digitize them before they can no longer be digitized. So, I don't know, go out there and find those decaying VHS and cassette tapes and move them to a digital medium. And you might want to store them for yourself, or you might want to share them with the internet in the greatest sense of the word by putting them on YouTube, or download or uploading them to the Internet Archive. If it's about pictures, there are a lot of pictures still out there. Your grand might have photo albums, family photo albums. These need to be digitized, and 2020 is the year that you're going to do it. There's this great app called Google Photoscan that you can use to take pictures with your smartphones of those old Polaroids, and the app will actually crop it, put the angle in the right direction. So if you're taking the picture skewed, it will put it up straight, and it will optimize the image. It's kind of like a straightening, correcting, photoshopping algorithm that immediately takes the best picture of that analog picture, so you can store it online. And you want to store it on premise by using older hard drives as media, which still is a great way to kind of store a lot of data. So take those old hard drives that you have, format them, and use them as archives, or maybe upload them to the Internet Archive and share them with the world. Storing everything there is free. It's not private, but it is free. And when we're coming down to sharing and contributing, we are going to come to number 9 on our list. Yeah, we skipped a number over there, but it's not a YouTube show. We don't really stand on numbers. It's the information that matters. And that is to share and contribute. So upload that information to the Internet Archive. Maybe not your personal data, but maybe you still have a manual of, I don't know, an old computer book lying around. Scan it, upload it to the Internet Archive. Or something that you created, like, for example, a podcast or a recording. Upload it to the Internet Archive. There is so much information up there, but they are really, really gathering everything. If you want the original manual of an Amstrad, you can just find it there. Maybe you have this computer book lying around at home, or this old folder of something that's really quaint and cute, and you want to share it with the world. Upload it to the Internet Archive. They love it over there. When you want to share and contribute, you can also record your own podcast. You have something to tell. How about 2020 being the year where you basically crawl behind the microphone and tell the world what you think is really important? So you can do that. Record a podcast. Do it in a series of shows like Hacker Public Radio, where you don't have to start up your own podcast, but you can just record one, share it with the world, and they will put it out there. Or you can, of course, record feedback for a podcast that you listen to. Maybe you have something to say on the topic that you're listening to. Record that and send it towards that podcast. I know you can go to our Telegram channel, record something, and we can play that in our podcast, enriching the whole experience for everybody. And of course, at the final number 10, there are a few things that I want to give with you, to share with you, and that's about paying it forward. Paying it forward is where you basically do a good deed just because you can. Supporting a podcast is a great way. Give them feedback. It keeps the hosts motivated to do that. I know I do. I love feedback. Or send in your own contribution. Contribute to the podcast. Pay it forward. You can donate. There are two two services online that are really, really important. Wikipedia and archive.org. I don't donate a lot of money. I don't donate to big causes, but these guys, they're getting my money every year. Even if it's $5, if it's €5 or $10, even if it's $1, if you give them to these two non-commercial but very essential services, you are really, really paying it forward. You can even, you can donate an older piece of hardware to somebody who's in need. Maybe got that old laptop lying around. How about, you just put Linux on it and give it to somebody who needs it, who would like to use it. I don't know, put retro or emulation station on that old machine, hook up a controller and put some games on it and give it to a kid around the corner, or somebody who isn't really, doesn't have the funds to buy his own retro gaming rig. How about using your knowledge and older discarded hardware and giving it away without any strings attached, just to pay it forward? You have your knowledge, use it. And of course, there is the gift of giving knowledge. Giving knowledge in the form of what I call library sticks. Take a USB stick, 8 gigabytes, 20 gigabytes, and take a topic that you're really interested in and gather information on that topic. These can be PDFs from websites or EPUBs that you found, or all kinds of informations or pictures, or you can use YouTube DL to download YouTube videos with documentaries and God knows what, and cram it all together into a library. And put this library on a stick. And if there's somebody who's really interested in something, you might want to share that information with them. So creating a library stick with podcasts, YouTube videos, PDFs, articles, all concentrated, and go like, you wanted to know everything about Chernobyl? Yeah, this is everything about Chernobyl. And if they're really interested in it, getting a curated stick like this with all of the information is like a treasure trove of information around a certain topic. And you might want to, ask your friends or your fellow geeks online to put together these sticks on different topics and pass them around. And I would go for a sneaker net passing around, because that's the magic of it, where you really get this great USB stick and give it to somebody who is interested. So, how about a podcast collection of podcasts you really like to listen to, or articles online that you really liked, or documentaries of YouTube that were your favorite selection? Giving them in a physical way is also something that's really important, because it's this human-to-human contact that bridges even the most digital gaps. And I really like the way I like that way to pay it forward and pass it around and share your information in 2020 and your knowledge and your enthusiasm by bringing more geeks into the fold. All right, that was part 3, and we're almost done. It's good to see. By the way, Mark is watching again. Hey, Mark. Good listener of the show, fellow listener of the show, and a fellow Belgian who's actually awake at this time of day. So we are going to close up the show, and then we are going to go into the wide world, and you can enjoy this show when it's done, edited, and published in January of this year. So, final part. Here we go. All right, first save that. And then we're going to go live. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. And that is all we have time for this week on the Nightwise.com podcast. I hope you've got some inspiration out of our very cobbled together, not really numerical, but still hopefully interesting lists of things you might want to do and try in 2020. There's a lot in there, and you might want to pick and choose whatever works for you. But I've kind of noticed that, doing one of these things from time to time really makes you happy, makes you learn, and, it kind of, how do I say it? It really cuddles your inner geek. So we will be back in 2020 with more hacks, tips, and tweaks for cross-platform geeks. Until then, let technology work for you. Take one of these 10 items, integrate them into your life, into your workflow, into your routine, and let technology work for you. From all of us here at Nightwise.com, the producers, the community, the contributors, I wish you a very, very happy new year. and a very, very joyful and peaceful and successful 2020. Let technology work for you instead of the other way around. See you guys. Bye-bye. And that's it. That's it for episode 15. Oh, sorry, episode 1, season 15. Did I say 15? No, I hope I didn't. No, I didn't. Let's see. We're short of time here, so I'm going to give you guys my farewell, close up this recording, and get on with my day. It's been great doing the live stream for you guys. Great experimenting. It's nice that you guys are watching. I hope you enjoy the show. The live show will be live. The recording of the live show will be live sooner than the actual episode, but I hope that's not a problem. You can watch the entire episode and the entire recording right here. Until next time, see you guys and girls around. Let technology work for you, and instead of the other way around, and enjoy your New Year's Eve and your New Year's festivities. See you guys. Bye-bye.